Phoenix, Arizona, DNA fingerprints have recently solved a grisly murder. Except here, the fingerprints weren't from a person, but from a tree. This is a recreation of what turned out to be an extraordinary investigation. It began with the discovery of the body of a young woman. With no eyewitness to her killing, the first detectives on the scene searched for physical evidence. They checked tire tracks on the road nearby, and then they got their first big break. The sound of a pager going off in the grass a few feet from the victim. 24 hours later, the pager lead was being followed up by the detective assigned to coordinate the case.
My name is Charlie Norton, and I'm a homicide investigator for the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office in Phoenix, Arizona. I've been a detective about 15 years. When I came into the case, my first assignment was to meet with the man who was determined to be the subscriber of the pager that was found at the scene.
The subscriber's name was Earl Bogan, and he immediately became the #1 suspect.
Mr. Bogan? Yeah. Hi, I'm Charlie Norton from the Sheriff's Office, and I'd like to talk to you about a pager. We found a pager.
But as Norton questioned Bogan, it soon became clear he wasn't the culprit. He owned the pager, but it was his son Mark who used it.
Hey, Don, how are you?
A day later, Mark Bogan was brought in for questioning. He had a story that could account for his pager being found with the victim.
Well, it was about 10 o'clock at night, and I was looking for a phone. Call some friends of mine. I wanted to go visiting, and also just tap on the window of the phone booth. This girl came up to me and asked if she could have a ride. I said, hey, sure, why not? I don't do anything. My friends want home. So she got in the truck, and we took off down 35th Avenue, and
Bogan admitted picking up the victim, but he claimed they parted company while still downtown, following a heated argument.
She got angry and took her hand, knocked all my things off the dashboard, and took off the door, took off with my wallet. Took out after her and took my wallet back, and I just walked back to the truck guy and went on home.
Well, your pager is found out there at the scene where this gal was found murdered.
When she must have stole my wallet, she must have grabbed my pager as well. I didn't find it the next morning, so I guess she got it.
I thought he was a pathological liar.
The detective was convinced Bogan had lost his pager in the struggle at the murder site, but Bogan's version of events was at least plausible. Knowing any such doubts would trouble a jury, Norton returned to the scene of the crime. He was hoping that the original investigation had missed some crucial piece of evidence that could prove Bogan had been there. He looked for some shoe prints or something like the pager left behind in haste. There was nothing. But then he noticed that a branch of one of the Palo Verde trees alongside the roadway was scarred with a fresh scrape. Suspecting the damage might have been caused by the murderer's vehicle, Norton, on an impulse, collected a few bean pods from the tree. He had no idea how they could be useful.
Police officers, when they go to an investigation at any scene, they collect just about everything they can find, soil samples, leaves, grass, and they hope that sometime in the future it'll help them establish that their suspect was at the scene.
The next day, Norton's instinct to collect the bean pods began to pay off. Evidence technicians had been inspecting Bogan's pickup for hours, unable to find anything that could place it at the murder scene. But then, while taking an inventory of the back of the truck, their luck changed.
This seemed to be something out of the ordinary, something that we needed to pay attention to.
To Detective Norton, it made sense. After the murder, Bogan's truck scraped the tree, shaking loose the bean pods. But the problem with the theory was obvious. There are tens of thousands of Palo Verde trees growing around Phoenix. The pods in Bogan's truck could have come from any one of them.
We have Paige, Paige.
It was Norton's boss who came up with the suggestion that would eventually break open the case.
What if there's a DNA test for the bean pods? And when I say a DNA test, it may be an experimental thing. You're going to have to research it. Someone could already be doing DNA testing with plant life. And we don't know it.
I thought it was a silly idea, to tell you the truth. I was vaguely familiar with DNA as it applies to criminal cases in, say, humans, for example, but I really had no experience and really didn't have any idea that there was such a thing in, as DNA in plants.
But Norton did what his boss suggested and began hunting for a scientist who might be able to use DNA to link the truck's pods with the tree at the crime scene.
Hello, Tim Hellinger's here.
Hi, this is Charlie Norton from the Sheriff's
Tim Hellinger's was the 15th geneticist Norton contacted after 14 had said a DNA comparison was impossible or way too costly.
Tree up here that was scraped at the scene, and we found 2 bean pods in the back of our suspect's truck. And I want to know if it might be possible for you to do some DNA testing on the pods and see if it would come back to any particular tree.
Well, theoretically, if we analyze the DNA from the pods and from the tree, we should be able to show if they match or not. The important question would be how much variation there is between individual Palo Verde trees. And so we might need to run a few tests first just to see how different Palo Verde trees are from each other.
Well,
The geneticist's concern was that some plant species are so genetically uniform that a DNA test couldn't tell individual plants apart. So the critical question was, how unique is any one Palo Verde tree's DNA fingerprint? To find out, Detective Norton mobilized members of the Phoenix Volunteer Sheriff's Posse to collect bean pods from trees throughout the county. The posse collected 38 samples in all. And within a week, they were all in the hands of Tim Hellinger's here at the University of Arizona in Tucson. His first task was to see if different Palo Verde trees had different DNA fingerprints. Only then could he hope to prove the pods in Mark Bogan's truck matched the tree at the scene of the crime. The analysis began by removing the seeds, which would have confused the results.
The seeds have DNA both from the mother tree and other trees that would have pollinated it. So we need to get rid of those and just use the pod material, which will only have DNA from the mother tree.
Next, the pods were dunked in liquid nitrogen, making them brittle and easy to grind up. But then Hellinger's ran into a problem that threatened to jeopardize the entire case.
I almost quit a couple of times because we had problems extracting the DNA from the pods since they were quite woody. But when I would talk to detectives and they kept re-emphasizing how important it was, I went back and tried another procedure and then another until we finally got it to work.
The pods eventually yielded up their DNA. But weeks of work still lay ahead. The task was to find within each tree's DNA a few small pieces that would be different from tree to tree, so that when these fragments were run through an electric sorter, the trees could be easily compared. Here's what a DNA fingerprint looks like. A series of bands that light up orange under ultraviolet light. Using these fingerprints, Hellinger's was able to make the critical comparison. The 2 pods found in the truck matched each other, and they also matched perfectly the pods taken from the tree at the crime scene. On the other hand, every other tree had a completely different DNA fingerprint. It was just what Charlie Norton had been hoping for.
I couldn't believe it. I thought it was, just a miracle, really. First of all, of the thought that he could do it. And then the added elation that this is going to make our case against Mark.
On May 27, 1993, Mark Bogan was found guilty of first-degree murder. It was the first time the DNA fingerprint of a plant was used in a criminal trial. Undoubtedly, it won't be the last.